You know how sometimes those official standards can feel a little abstract, just words on a page? Well, today we're going to change that. We're taking one of the most important ones, reader and writer identity, and we're going to break down exactly how you can make it a living, breathing part of your classroom every single day. And hey, you don't just have to take my word for it. All of these strategies, they come straight from the source, the Georgia Department of Education's own guide for its ELA standards, so you know this is solid stuff, grounded in really good thinking about how kids learn. So, what's this all really about? What's the big idea? Well, at its heart, this standard is all about empowering our students. It's about giving them the tools, the routines, the habits to see themselves as real readers and writers. You know, the kind who set their own goals, figure out what they love to read, and get why it all matters. Not just for a grade, but for themselves and for their classroom community. Okay, so let's get practical. How do we actually make this happen in a real classroom? Well, first things first, we've got to unpack what this standard is really asking us to do. But let's do it in simple, teacher-friendly language, right? Basically, it's all about building confidence. See, as our students read and write more and more, something magical happens. They stop just passively taking in text. Instead, they start choosing books on purpose, they start setting their own goals, and they really, truly take ownership of their own growth. It's a huge shift. And you know how you can tell it's working? It's not about a test score. Nope. It's about what you start to hear your students say. When you overhear them saying things like this, that's when you know. That's when you know that identity isn't just some abstract concept on a poster. It's actually becoming a real part of who they are.
Okay, so to get this going, you're going to want to gather a few key things. Let's take a look at the toolkit that the source document recommends.
First up, you'll want a ton of different kinds of texts. You know, print, digital, even audio, so there's something for everyone. Then you'll need a simple spot for students to keep their book bucket lists. We'll talk more about those in a sec. Identity charts? Oh, these are great for making their thinking visible. An anchor chart for conversation norms is an absolute must-have for getting kids to talk productively. And finally, you just need a routine for celebrating their awesome work and a simple way to set and track their goals. Easy enough, right? All right, you've got your toolkit ready. Now for the fun part. Let's dive into the 4 core strategies that are really going to bring this standard to life. Strategy number 1 is all about creating a text-rich environment. And the source document is super clear on this. The way you build a community of readers and writers is by immersing them in all sorts of texts, in all sorts of formats, and everywhere. Whole groups, small groups, and of course during their own independent time. And one of the most powerful ways to do this, it's the read aloud plus think aloud. This is your moment to shine. It's where you, the teacher, get to model what an expert reader actually does. As you're reading, you just talk. You share your connections, your questions, your reactions, all out loud. You're literally making the invisible process of reading visible for your students. It's a game changer. Okay, so building on that idea of modeling, let's get to strategy number 2. This one is so simple, but wow, is it effective. It's the personal book bucket list. And the process couldn't be easier. After you do a read aloud, you just ask the class this one simple question. If they liked the book, boom, they add the title, the author, maybe even the genre to their list. It's this small, repeated action that builds everything. Preference, stamina, choice. And pretty soon, students start to see themselves as the kind of reader who actually has a plan. All right, on to strategy number 3. Look, identity doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? It gets stronger when students get to talk about what they're reading and writing with each other. Those peer conversations, that's like the testing ground where they figure out their ideas and really nail down their own tastes. So how do we make those conversations happen? Well, the source suggests a bunch of awesome, specific structures you can use. Things like reading buddies, the classic author's chair for sharing their writing, a reader spotlight board to celebrate what kids are reading, or even having them write book reviews for each other. And just look at how simple a reading buddy chat can be. Partner A just tells their partner what they're reading and why they chose it, and partner B, their only job is to ask one good question about it. That's it. It's super low stakes, it's focused, and it makes sure everybody gets to talk. Now, to make sure these talks are actually productive and kind, you've got to set up some norms. And an anchor chart with sentence stems like these, absolutely essential. It's not about scripting them. It's about giving them the language they need to talk about books and writing in a way that's helpful and respectful. Okay, our final strategy. This one is all about building that writer identity. And the key, the absolute game changer here, is shifting who our students are writing for. We have got to move them beyond just writing for the teacher just to get a grade. Because here's the thing, and this is so important, a student's identity as a writer just explodes when their work has a real audience and a real purpose. And when they finish a piece, we have to treat it like a publication. We share it, we celebrate it. That act of sharing is what tells them, yes, your work matters. You are a real author. So let's pull this all together. When you do these things, when you immerse your students in amazing texts, when you use book bucket lists, when you structure peer talks, and you give them a real audience for their writing, you're doing so much more than just checking off a standard. You are actively building a vibrant classroom culture, a place where being a reader and a writer can truly, truly flourish. And remember, this isn't about some big, fancy, one-off lesson. It's about the small, daily routines and structures that build that powerful culture over time. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. What's one small step you can take, just one, to make your students' reading and writing identities a little more visible in your classroom tomorrow?